And could you please state your name for the record?
Tana Butts,
All right. And how old are you, Ms. Butts?
46.
And do you know someone named Jarvis Butts?
Yes,
And how is it that you know him?
he's my brother.
Okay. And how old is Jarvis Butts?
42.
And do you know his birthday?
Yes,
When's his birthday?
November 21st, 1982.
And do you see Jarvis Butts in the courtroom today?
I saw him walking in.
Okay. And can you point to him and tell me the color of the clothing that he's wearing?
He has on, I believe it's dark green shirt. He's sitting behind the lady to the side of you.
Okay. And Your Honor, would the record reflect when it says identified the defendant in this case?
So reflected. And just to be clear, you said I saw him walking in. You saw him when you were walking in or when he was walking in?
When I was walking in just now.
Thank you.
And Ms. Butts, where did you know Jarvis to work?
He worked at a shop on Warren and Neff, called Frank's, and then he moved to a shop on Hopper and Connors. I don't know the name of it.
Okay. And Ms. Butts, do you remember talking to Detroit police back on February 26th of 2024?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the reason that you went and talked to Detroit police?
I had reason to believe that I saw Naiah the day she went missing.
Okay. Tell me about that. What makes you believe that you saw Naiah on the day she went missing?
Where do you want me to start this alive?
So, from the very beginning, where is it that you think you saw Naiah?
At the shop on Harbor and Connors.
Okay, and whose shop is it?
My brother Jarvis Butts and his partner.
Okay. What's the reason you were at your brother's shop that day?
Something was wrong with the car that I was driving, and I just needed him to check it out to make sure it was safe for me to drive.
Okay. Do you recall about what time did you go to Jarvis's shop that day?
About 4 p.m., give or take a few minutes.
Okay. And around what time did you leave?
Somewhere between 6 and 6:30.
Okay. And what is it that you noticed while you were at the shop?
So, it's a car, like garage. So I was sitting outside of the shop in my car because they were working on another car on the inside. As I sat there for the time that I was there, I kept seeing a little girl get in and out of his truck, going to the gas station and going back to his car.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you right there. Whose car are we talking about?
My brother.
Okay, and what kind of car was it?
Believe the Cadillac Escalade.
Okay. Do you remember what color?
Kind of like a pearl white, off white cream color.
Okay, and you said you described this as like a 2 garage shop?
Yes.
Okay, and I want to approach with people's Exhibit 7.
Okay.
Now, Ms. Butts, do you recognize what is it we're looking at in People's Exhibit 7?
Yes.
Okay, what is that?
That is the shop
Okay.
right in the middle.
And where at were you parked when you saw someone getting in and out of Jarvis' truck?
In front of the car doors, well, the garage right here.
Okay.
I was parked facing, I don't know what direction it is, but going towards Gradual. I was like in front, but outside.
Okay, so you were kind of parked parallel with the road.
Yes.
Okay. Can you draw a T where your truck was?
My car?
Yeah, your car was.
Can I?
Yeah. and then put an arrow the way you were facing. And where is it where that Jarvis's truck was? Just put a J where Jarvis's truck was. And what way was his truck facing?
It was facing our direction, so the front was
Towards you. Okay, so put an arrow for that direction. Okay. Now, do you get a look at this little girl that you see getting in and out of his car?
I saw her, as she was walking. I never saw her face.
Did you see any clothing?
I did.
Okay. Did anything about the clothing stick out to you or that you remember?
I just remember her having on a colorful jacket.
Okay. And what door, which side do you remember seeing her getting in and out of Jarvis's truck? Or did it change?
I don't really remember.
Okay, that's okay. So you said you mostly remember a jacket, a colorful jacket.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to show you what's marked as People's Exhibit 2, which is already admitted, and People's Proposed Exhibit 10. You under my approach?
Yes.
Thank you. Handing you what's marked as People's Exhibits 2 and 10. Okay. Do you recognize anything in those photos?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
What is it that you recognize?
Right here, this jacket.
And for the record, you're pointing up in channel 1, and you recognize this like pink colorful jacket?
Yes.
Okay. And that's in People's Exhibit 10? Your Honor, I would move for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 10 as Exhibit 10. Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the jacket that you saw that day?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move for the proposed People's Exhibit 10.
Any objection?
No objection.
Okay, it'll be admitted as People's Exhibit 10.
Okay. And in People's 2, is that also, where is the what you recognize People's Exhibit 2?
It looks like channel 2 here, maybe.
Okay, facing the back?
Yeah.
Okay. And you recognize the jacket in this photo too, right? Yes.
It's a little blurry, but it looks the same.
Okay.
to me.
And what about in channel 1 of Exhibit 2?
It would be this one right here.
Okay, and it's fair to say that's the back of a jacket? It seems to be the back of a jacket? Okay. Thank you. And you said that you saw this little girl with this jacket on getting in and out and going into the gas station?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know who this little girl was at the time?
No.
Okay. Is there a time that you ever get out of your car?
Yes.
And what do you do?
I needed to use the restroom, so I asked his partner if I could use the restroom. He told me to go and tell him in the gas station. And as I was walking towards the gas station, she was walking in front of me going into the gas station.
Okay. So about how far in front of you was she?
I would say maybe where the gentleman in the gray blazer is behind you. Maybe a little bit farther, I'm not really sure about that distance.
From where you are to him?
Yeah.
Okay. And boy, I'm really bad at estimates.
20, 25 feet?
I would agree with about 20 to 25 feet. And you said you never got a chance to see this little girl's face.
No.
Was there anything else about her that you can remember?
I just remember her being kind of small, like outside of just seeing her get in and out of the car. When I was walking towards her, I was like, she's tiny, and I just remembered the coat.
Okay. Tiny, like, in what way? Like tiny, skinny, short?
Kind of skinny and short.
Okay. And did you ever ask Jarvis who the little girl was?
Yes.
And what did he tell you?
He told me, and I can't remember if it was this exact word, or he said it's my partner's niece, or he said it was King's niece.
Okay, but you knew who he was referring to?
Yes.
Okay. Did you think anything of it at the time?
No.
Okay. And what is it that made you think something? Was there a time where you thought something different?
Yes.
Okay. And what is it that made you think something different?
I received phone call, well, a video call from one of his kids' mom, and she told me about some things that happened on Valentine's Day, and then she sent me a video of a podcast about my brother.
Okay. And what did you do as a result of receiving those things?
I called Shannon and I asked her for Sergeant Jones' phone number.
Okay. And who's the Shannon that you called?
His kid's mom.
Shannon Harris?
Yes.
Okay. Do you do anything before you go and talk to Sergeant Jones?
Yes.
Okay. What is it that you do?
Okay, so after having a conversation with Shannon Harris and his other kid's mom, I was informed that his partner King, I guess something happened where the
Objection, this is hearsay.
There's not a statement yet, Judge.
Being informed.
I'm not sure what she's even about to say.
Okay, just to the extent that it's informed of someone else's statement.
You might have to object in a couple moments.
You need to speak up.
If you could stand up
Please.
and make your objection.
Yes, just objecting to the fact that she was informed of something. It appears this might be hearsay, but we'll see. Yeah.
Could you finish what you were saying? I don't know where you were going with this.
I'm trying to remember where I left. Okay, so after talking to Shannon Harris and his other kid's mom, I was informed of some things that had taken place I think Valentine's Day, so they told me that his partner King.
Okay, so at this point, this is hearsay. They told me in the lack of personal knowledge to the things that she was informed of.
Can I finish?
1 second.
One.
What is an objection?
I'm sorry.
The witness
Sorry.
has to stop talking.
So, based on those, do you go and talk to someone else?
Yes.
Okay. Who do you go and talk to?
His partner King
Okay. And where is it that you go and talk to King at?
at the shop on Harbor Encounters.
Okay. And without telling me what King said, kind of describe what was your conversation about?
Well, I went to see what happened and what was going on. During that time, I told him that I had never seen any little girl at my brother's shop besides my nieces, outside of the little girl that I saw getting out of his truck that day.
Okay.
And you told this to who?
King.
Okay.
And who is King again?
His business partner.
Okay. And do you know his government name?
I believe it's Cordero or something like that. I just always call him King.
Okay. So you went and told him that you hadn't seen anyone out at the shop besides your nieces and then the one little girl you saw that one day.
Yes.
Okay. Did you ask him about that little girl?
Well, I didn't ask him about it. After I said that to him, he told me.
Objection, Your Honor, this is going to be hearsay again.
Judge, it's going to go to the effect of on the listener.
There could be an exception. I don't know what she's saying. So you might as well just stay standing up. Go ahead, say what you were going to say.
After I mentioned to him that I had only saw my nieces and one particular little girl, he then told me that that was Naiah that I saw that day and I was there.
So I would object then, given now that she has testified to that it is hearsay, that it is being introduced for the truth.
And Judge, I would say that it's actually a statement of identification.
So this is not an identification that she personally made, she's just being told.
I mean, she saw Naiah that day, so it's.
She didn't know who it was. I mean, she had no idea who this was. That's
She
not
didn't know
her
who he was.
identification.
So it is hearsay.
Okay. So, without saying what King said, were you informed of anything about a little girl that you saw on January 9th, 2024?
Yes,
Okay. And to your knowledge, Jarvis had told you that that was King's niece?
yes,
Okay. And when you talked to King, did you have reason to not believe what Jarvis told you?
yes,
Okay. Do you know your nieces from Jarvis? Sorry. That is a poorly worded question. I am sorry. If that was your niece, would you have recognized her that day?
yes,
Okay. And you did not recognize this little girl as your niece, did you?
no,
Okay. What is it that you did after speaking with King that day?
I called Shannon Harris and I asked her for Sergeant Jones' phone number.
Okay. And did you eventually talk to Sergeant Jones?
Yes,
Okay. Sorry about that. What day was it that you went to the shop and saw the little girl?
can I ask you a question? I didn't remember the exact date at that time.
Okay. What is it that makes you believe that it was Naiah Harris that you saw on that day?
I'm not quite sure how to answer what you're asking me. Like,
That may be a poorly worded question. I'm sorry. Can I just have 1 second, Judge?
Yes.
Ms. Butts, did you come to learn of the day that you had gone to Jarvis's shop by going through the locations on your phone?
yes,
Okay. And that's the day that you don't remember off the top of your head right now, but it is revealed in your phone locations?
yes,
Okay. Let's see here. One second, Judge. Get her finder. when is it that you went through your phone locations to determine the date? Oh, I'm sorry, do you need a moment?
I believe February, I think like 24th or the 26th. I can't remember the exact date.
Okay, that's when you would have went through your phone to find those?
Yes. Okay.
And did you also go through that in your interview with Sergeant Jones?
Yes.
Okay. And did you give Sergeant Jones permission to look at your location data?
Yes.
Okay. And your phone kind of extraction in general? Like to go through your phone for the data?
Yes.
Okay. Nothing else, Judge.
Okay, Russ.
Good afternoon.
Uh,
So you go to the shop where your brother works periodically, right?
From time to time, yes.
You've been there prior to the day we've been talking about today?
Yes.
A couple times at least?
Yes.
And you'd been back there after?
Yes.
But the day we've been talking about, that's the only time you ever saw a child there?
That was the only time I saw a child I didn't recognize.
Okay, so you had seen other children there before?
Yes.
Okay. When you say that you recognize, these are who exactly?
My
usually?
nieces.
And when you first arrived at the shop that day, Jarvis told you that he wasn't going to be able to work on your car?
No.
No? Did you ask him if he'd be able to?
Judge, I think this calls for hearsay. They can't admit statements of the defendant.
I'm looking more so for her own statement, actually.
For her
We'll
what?
start with her own statement.
Okay.
Did you ask him right away if he would be able to work on your car?
I talked to him prior to coming to the shop.
Before you arrived, you asked if he could work on your car that day?
I asked him to look at my car that day.
Okay. Did you arrive at the shop with the understanding that he would or would not be able to?
I arrived at the shop knowing that he was going to look at my car.
Okay. One moment. And was that via text or call or some other way?
Probably a video call.
Okay, so a video call a little bit before you headed over?
Earlier in the day, maybe.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what time.
Okay, so that's how you decided that you'd go over later.
He told me I could come.
Judge, this is kind of all calling for hearsay in a backdoor way.
The response is hearsay. Not
Yes.
that you necessarily asked for it, but it is hearsay.
Sure, we can
It'd be
keep it
stricken.
as her own. So to be clear, we don't need to talk about what he said to you, but you did a video call to him, and in that call, you asked if he could work on your car.
You
Right.
keep saying work on my car. I said look at my car.
Okay, look at your car, but you asked him personally in a video call.
Yes.
Okay, and that was maybe that morning.
I don't remember what time of day it was, but it was before I went to him.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and as you were saying, this day, I think you said you saw some other children there at other times, but this particular child, you only ever saw this child on this particular day.
Yes.
And the whole time you were there, from your testimony and from that police interview, you said that you never saw her face.
Yes.
And then you did also see some news stories about this case.
Yes.
Yeah, in the podcast that you talked about. Right, there were some podcasts.
I had already saw her on the news, but I did not know who she was.
Sure. But that was, by seeing those stories, that's how you started to think.
Well, I was sent the podcast after some other things that was told to me, that's when I received the podcast.
So initially, between the day you were at the shop, right, and then until you started to see that news, at first you didn't make this connection that maybe she was anyone in particular.
Not at all.
Okay. And then through seeing that news, those podcasts, that's when you started to think she
No.
was.
That's not the reason why I thought that.
No, but that's the timing, or it's not?
I guess you could say that.
That's when you started to, at least when you saw those things, that's when you started to wonder.
I was wondering before I saw the podcast.
Okay. In your police interview that you did
Mhm.
you tell them that at first when you saw the news you didn't really make a connection because of not having seen her face?
Yes.
Okay. So that interview was on February 26th, 2024, right?
Yes.
And you were having some trouble remembering some of the specific details from January 9th at that point?
Not so much as remembering maybe the order I remembered it in.
Okay. Were there some times, at least though, when you were asked some questions and some details that you had to say, I can't remember some things?
I can't remember now.
Okay. And would you agree that at least
Like,
when
it's been a minute.
okay.
And
I
I
was just saying-
probably did. I guess it would be safe to say because I didn't know.
Okay, so you think it's safe to say that at that point in time, there are at least some details you were having a hard time, some questions you couldn't answer.
I can't disagree.
And it was pretty close in time, shortly before that police interview, that was when you first started to think that maybe this girl you'd seen at the shop had been Naiah Harris.
Can you repeat that?
So the first time you started to think that maybe that child, the one you saw, maybe that was Naiah Harris, that was pretty close in time to the police interview.
Maybe about a week or so before.
Okay. I believe, does it sound right to you that I think you told the police that it was on the Thursday prior to the interview?
Whatever the Thursday was after Valentine's Day.
Okay. So probably February 22nd. That was the Thursday prior to your interview.
Okay.
And then when you were at the shop, you primarily saw this child while she was inside a truck, right?
I didn't know it was a child in the truck until she kept getting out.
Okay, but when you saw her, she was in a truck?
I saw her getting out the truck, yes.
And were you inside your vehicle?
Yes.
You arrived in the daylight, right?
Yes.
And that's, I think, what you're referring to, right? Initially, that's when you didn't yet know somebody was in the truck.
Can you say that again?
So at the beginning, when you first got there, right, you didn't know right away that somebody was in the truck.
No, I didn't.
I think you had said before, because it was so light outside, it was a bit difficult to see into the truck.
I wasn't really paying attention to his truck. He was outside of it.
Sure. And then in your police interview, you referred to then seeing a light in the truck, and that's when you started to see somebody?
Yeah, that's when the door opened.
Okay, so there's a light turned on, and at the same time a door opened?
That's the reason the light was on.
Okay, because the truck door was open. Yes?
Sure.
And you said that you saw a couple different times her go back and forth to the gas station?
Yes.
And only at one of those different times you were on your way to the gas station as well.
Yes.
But for that whole time, she remained in front of you?
When I was going into the gas station, she was in front of me. When I walked into the gas station, she went to the left, I went straight, and over to the right.
For that walk over to the gas station, was it getting dark at that point?
It was already dark.
Okay. And while she was in the truck, you were not sure exactly which part of the truck this was?
I can't remember, no.
Okay. So you understood initially that when you arrived, you'd probably have to wait at the shop sometime?
Yes.
I think you referred to just one other car he worked on first. Is that all there was before you?
It was actually another vehicle out there, but I don't pay my brother to work on my car, so I had to wait until he was done making his money.
Sure.
So I waited.
Sure. So do you know how many cars he worked on before he got to you?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you know if there were any other customers present in person?
I did see someone, I can't remember what kind of car they was in, but it was, I believe, a gentleman that needed to pull into the garage because Jarvis asked me to move my car out the way because I was blocking the garage, so yes.
Was this someone you recognized at all?
No.
So in total, other than Jarvis, or who you referred to as King, was there anyone present that you recognized that day?
No. Just King and my brother.
So as you said, the sun set while you were there. Do you know about how long it was light out before it got dark?
Well, I got there about 4 o'clock. It didn't take long for it to get dark. I don't remember the exact time, but it got dark pretty fast.
Okay, and then other than when you went to the gas station, were you always at the shop?
What do you mean?
So
I'm
did you
sorry.
go anywhere else?
No,
Okay.
I never left. All I did was move my car when he asked me to move my car, and once the driveway was clear, I back where I was. I didn't go anywhere else.
Okay. And when you were present, not going to the gas station, were you always inside your vehicle?
Yes,
Were your doors open or closed?
closed.
Okay, and were your windows up or down?
They were up unless I asked him something,
Okay, so sometimes if you needed to communicate, you just open the window.
or I would call him. Yeah. Yes.
And you were saying today that at one point you did speak to Jarvis about who this girl was.
Yes.
And when you were talking to the police about this, you had said that you weren't sure exactly what his response was.
What I said was I wasn't sure of the wording.
Sure, that's what I mean. That
Okay.
you told the police, right, that it might have been King's niece, or maybe he said it's my homeboy's niece.
He said it was his partner or King's niece, but he definitely said it was someone else's niece.
Okay, I think, does it sound right to you that you used the term homeboy's niece with the police?
I probably did.
Okay.
That's all it was saying to me.
And then that's what you continued to think at first, right? At first you just believed that it was someone else's niece.
Yeah,
Specifically, you thought it was probably King's niece.
that's what I was told.
Which I think, as we established, right, King is the same person as Cordell, right?
Yes.
And then after that, you would listen to some of these podcasts and to the news.
I listened to his kid's mother, and then I watched the podcast.
Okay, so those are some things that happened. Both.
Yes.
And then once you started to have this different information you were gathering, then you kind of started to look into it for yourself.
Yes.
Do some of your own investigation.
Yes.
And then at one point following that, that's when you decided to go back to the shop
Yes.
to speak to Cordell
Yes.
and to discuss some of these things you've been learning with him.
Yes.
You and Jarvis are not particularly close.
I wouldn't say that we're really distant. I don't see him every day. I don't talk to him every day, but he's my brother.
Okay. He's your brother, but you don't have a very close relationship, or?
He's my brother.
Okay. What about with his children? Are you close with his children?
Some of the ones that I know.
So he has 13 kids, right?
I have no idea.
Do you have an idea of around how many kids he has?
A lot,
Okay. Do some of them live with different mothers?
yes.
And you don't spend time with all of them?
No.
So which ones do you know?
I don't want to say their names. They're minors.
Okay.
And I don't want to disclose their identity.
Could you just give like a number instead? How many do you know?
I'm counting. About 8.
So when you say 8 that you know, does that mean 8 that you have like personal contact with?
I have.
Okay. When is the last time that you've seen any of them?
Maybe about 2 months ago.
Were you and Jarvis raised by your grandmother?
For the most part.
And were there some events surrounding her death that related to your relationship with Jarvis that impacted some things?
No.
Oh, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Can you redirect?
Yes, Judge. Ms. Butts, you said that there was another reason, there was a different reason that you thought that it was Naiah that you had saw that day. When you were starting to compile, or when you talked to Shannon Harris, and then you got the podcast, before that you said there was other reasons why you had thought that was Naiah.
So, am I?
Yes.
Can I speak for
What is
okay,
that? Yes.
So, at the time, I didn't know. Once I realized that it was a possibility that I saw her, there were several reasons that led me to believe that it was a possibility I was there. And I didn't want to get into detail as far as what I knew before the podcast. But if you would like, I would explain to you why I thought these things.
Your Honor,
It's up to you.
can we approach?
Yes. We'll be right back. Go in the hallway.
You need some water or something? Can you get some water from there? Can you give her some water?
Oh, yeah.
Please. Calm down, okay? Calm down. Calm down. Calm down. It's gonna be alright. Come on. That's it.
Okay.
I got like 2 more pages.
Okay, we are back on the record. Ms. Butts, you are still under oath. Ms. Ripley, go right ahead.
Thank you. So, Ms. Butts, what's the sources of these reasons that you have? Are these things that you know from your personal knowledge? Are these things that you observe yourself?
I'm sorry. Can
That's
you
okay.
repeat that?
So these reasons that you were thinking of, what are the sources of them? Is it somebody told you something? Is it something that you saw yourself, you observed, or a coupling of that?
I would say a bit of both.
Okay.
Things that I was told and things that I heard.
Okay. Were there heard from Jarvis?
No,
Okay. Were these things that you had already known prior
prior
to thinking that was Naiah that you saw?
I'm sorry, I'm confused on the question.
So are these things the sources that you have for these reasons? Are they like things that you have personal knowledge of, or are they things that somebody told you about?
These were things that I was told. I'm trying to understand the question that you're asking me.
Ms. Ripley, you're referring to the question before we went into sidebar about her leading up to believing that it was possibly Naiah Harris at the shop, correct?
Yes.
Does that help clarify
Okay,
the line of questioning?
yes.
Okay.
Okay. So those reasons, those things, are those things that you had known before? Are they based on your observations, or?
Well, these were things that I was told. And after asking the questions that I needed to ask, I came up with the conclusion that it was a possibility that Naiah was the little girl that I saw that day.
Okay. Thank you. You said that when you were parked at Jarvis's shop, that it was getting dark out.
Yes.
Okay. That darkness, is that maybe the reason why the color on the jacket stood out?
Well, the jacket didn't stand out until I was walking into the gas station behind her because I wasn't really like paying attention to what she had on. I just kept seeing her get in and out of the truck, going in the gas station and coming back to the truck, and that's what caught my attention.
Okay, so the movement is what attracted you to it at first.
Yes.
Okay. Nothing for the judge. Nothing further.
Okay, Ms. Butts, you are done testifying. Watch your step coming out of the witness box, okay? Okay, one last witness for today, correct?
Yes, Judge. At this time, people would call Latricia Johnson.